Our guest today, from Sonic Youth in 1981, breakthrough song Teenage Riot was added by the US Library of Congress to the National Registry of Historic Recordings, an experimental musician who, it's been said, redefined the possibilities for guitar. Please give it up for Thurston Moore. You were part of that whole Lower East Side punk scene. What was that like? Because this was all, when we say alternative, I mean, it was kind of alternative DIY society, wasn't it?
It was this sort of kind of reclamation of rock and roll at the time, because it had become so pompous and huge and sort of out of touch with the audience. It was really distant from the audience, and it had become this huge theater of money and sort of attitude, and all of a sudden there was something else going on that was really stripped down and stripping out and making naked this real nucleus of what was important about the music.
With Sonic Youth, you've used a lot of non-standard guitar tunings, and I was wondering if you could talk about maybe kind of how you were first influenced to do that and how it kind of evolved over like 20 years. When
I met Lee and Kim, and we would go to like these pawn shops and buy like these very cheap guitars, since we had these cheap guitars, and in a way they didn't sound that good tuned traditionally. They sounded really bad. They couldn't hold the tuning. I just sort of did this thing where I was taking this cue of just like strumming an open guitar and turning the tuning pegs until these relationships would happen between the 6 strings that I thought was kind of orally interesting as an open tuning on this guitar. And then I would create different sort of like different noting on the frets and like that. That's all it was. It was really simple.
Being quite an experimental band in that, when you first started, did you think it was going to be like as big as it was? Like Sonic Youth, the biggest pioneering bands of all time. I think it's crazy.
No, we didn't think anything. No. But we never really thought about doing anything else. But we never thought like, well, this is going to turn into something that is going to be any different or bigger than what it is at that time. And so our models for success didn't really exist, because we didn't think we were going to be competing with Queen or something. That wasn't going to happen. You know, a lot of people point to like the success of Nirvana at the end, at the very end of the '80s with Nevermind. It was a huge game changer in a way, because all of a sudden it was really wonderful that this whole sort of underground culture of playing music that was informed by punk rock and again hardcore or even post-punk was like sort of put into this sort of like really sort of minimalist music that Nirvana was. We didn't even think that was going to like do any business. I mean, we just thought like, that's really cool, that's like really good. It's as good as other things that are happening around us, be it Babes in Toyland or Mudhoney, or like, it was just like the fact that it actually sort of was in the right place at the right time with the advent of like media, with MTV and then the video and then exploding and becoming, and the record becoming huge like that, and it really did change the game.
I think the students were really surprised how much he knew about music and social history and culture and art and all those things that come together around a brilliant, influential artist. When you get someone like Thurston in the room, it's a really significant moment for everybody, for me, for the school, and for all the students present. And you remember that, and those students will remember that for the rest of their lives. I'll never forget it. It was a brilliant session.